ready, fire, aim. According to Virginia DUI defense attorney Bob Battle, that's how most people go about choosing a DUI lawyer. Bob is my guest today, and we're going to talk about the importance of choosing a qualified DUI lawyer to represent you in what is a very serious matter. So Bob, thanks for being here today.
It's great to be here, Cindy. Thank you.
Well, Bob, I want to start where we just talked a few minutes ago, and as you know, my father was killed by a drunk driver. And so when I hear about a DUI defense, I haven't been all that sympathetic to people with a DUI defense. But share with me what you just shared about what you do and some of the stuff that we just talked about.
Sure. One of the reasons that I am attracted and have chosen to do DUI defense is sort of a mixture of things as a lawyer. One of the things I don't think most people understand is when someone comes in my office, they've hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've been charged with DUI, they've spent a night in a cold jail cell, and they come in there. A lot of times, some people, just by being charged, they've lost their job. A spouse, finds out they've done that. They've, things are rocky at home, so they're about to lose their job, their marriage, their family. And one of the things that I pride myself on is I'm not going to feed people a lot of bull. And so basically, a lot of people come in my office, I talk to them, they either have a problem with alcohol or they have obviously made a very serious judgment mistake. And so I actually get a chance to talk straight to a lot of these people and get them into programs which help them with their life. One of the things I tell my clients, and I say it in court to judges, is even if on a first offense a judge maxes someone out, 6 months and 1 day later, if they get a year, they serve 6 months, they're back in the street and they've got the rest of their life to deal with after this charge. So I tell them, they need to deal with it not just as a requirement from court, but to be able to get on with their lives.
Yeah. So now you've written a book, and actually it is about, I believe, the questions that you should ask when trying to find a DUI attorney. Is that
sure?
Correct?
And that's why we talked about sort of the ready, fire, aim. Because when I talk to people, most people never expect to find themselves in this position. Even people that have prior DUI, at the time, I'll never happen again, never happen again. And so they are frantically looking around for an attorney. And I just see from the questions they ask that they're not asking the right questions. And in this day and age, one of the great things is that there's a ton of information out there. I mean, there's a ton of information on the internet. People go to the yellow pages. People get letters in the mail from friendly lawyers telling them that they should hire them. But there's also a lot of hype and misinformation, just flat out BS. So I wrote a book called How to Choose a DUI Lawyer in Virginia. And part one talks about just that, things to beware of, and just sort of flat out calling out some lawyer directories, which I think their messages are blatantly unethical, but also giving them 10 questions that they should be asking me or any lawyer, before they make that decision.
Okay, now how can somebody get that guide?
If they go to my website, which is www.bobbattlelaw.com, BOBBATTLELAW.com, you'll see right there, there's actually a picture of the book on the website, How to Choose a DUI Lawyer in Virginia, and just fill out the form there, and the book will be sent to them as an instant download ebook. It's free, and it's just something that before they start making all these phone calls, I recommend that they get this information. Then they can make an educated decision as to who is the best lawyer for their case.
Right, right. Now, one more thing I want you to address. Do you see instances where someone who is charged with a DUI where their constitutional rights are violated?
Yes, I see every instance of where constitutional rights are violated. There's a thing that I talk about that a lot of lawyers talk about. Probably the leading proponent in the country is Larry Taylor, a California DUI defense lawyer, called the DUI exception of the Constitution. And as a DUI lawyer, any lawyer, I'm a parent too. I don't have any problem with people being tough on drunk drivers, people being against drunk driving. What I do have a problem with is people throwing out the Constitution that, even the, child molester and the murderer gets full advantage of in the DUI case. And what am I talking about? Well, in DUI cases, roadblocks. Usually the police need to have a reasonable suspicion to pull someone over. Well, the United States Supreme Court said, no, you can have roadblocks and pull people over for no reason. As to rights at the scene of the offense, that the police can ask questions they couldn't ask otherwise. They can force people to take blood tests. There are all sorts of instances where people have rights in other instances where they don't in DUI. The double jeopardy clause. When people are charged with DUI on a first offense in Virginia, their license is taken for 7 days. On a second offense, it's pretty much taken for 60 days, or generally, which covers up to the trial. And there's a double jeopardy clause that says once you've been punished, you can't be punished again. Well, again, all the way taken up the United States Supreme Court, they said no. This doesn't violate the double jeopardy clause. So for me and a lot of other lawyers, it's frustrating. It's like, hey, we don't have any problem. If you want to make the laws tough, that's fine. But to sort of not give people procedures, in some states, not Virginia, thank goodness, you can't even attack the blood and breath tests, which is an absolute shame, because people with TV shows, CSI, Miami CSI, everything, people these days more and more are in tune to forensic issues. And the reality is with a breath machine that they are using averages. Well, an average means that 50% are going to be above that, 50% are going to be below that. So by definition, a lot of these breath results are going to be low. There are also all sorts of other issues with sort of, whether they should even let a defendant or a defense attorney know what sort of software program is being used in this. In blood testing, basically, if you look at a lot of the way blood testing is done and the forensic procedures used by a lot of states, it is an educated guess, but it should be allowed in court to explain to the judge or the jury that that's all it is an educated guess.
Yeah. Well, now, what you're explaining here, and you talk about forensic evidence and things like that and constitutional rights, obviously you have a passion for what you do. Do you see other attorneys that just kind of make this a simple little matter and just don't do the right thing? I mean, are these cases not being handled properly in large numbers?
Yes, and that's part 2 of my consumer guide, talks about 20 issues, and this isn't exclusive. These are just 20 I was able to come up with that I see lawyers fail to raise and recognize for the clients that lose winnable cases. And what I talk about in the book is, these are issues that if someone is taking your good money, that they should have this expertise. And I see all the time, a couple years ago, there was some marketing materials for a DUI internet directory, and in it, it said pretty much to these lawyers, hey, you really don't know anything to take DUI cases. And it said, I quote, that DUI defendants are scared, they have lots of money, and most of the cases wind up pleading out anyway. And myself and other lawyers, colleagues in the National College of DUI Defense, call these lawyers dump truck DUI defense lawyers, because they may talk a good game, but they come in, they just plead people guilty. And I can also say, as a former prosecutor, prosecutors talk. Prosecutors know lawyers who aren't going to try cases, who don't see these issues, etc., and it is well known among prosecutors. So if you wind up in court with one of these lawyers, you don't know, the poor person charged with DUI, but the prosecutors know this person is, and I say in my book, asleep at the wheel, otherwise a dump truck lawyer. They don't know the issues, they don't care to know the issues, and they're just going to take whatever plea bargain that the prosecutor gives.
Give me that website again where they can get this guide.
It's www.bobbattlelaw.com.
Okay. Fantastic information today. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure, Cindy.
Okay. This is Cindy Speaker for State Law TV.